I speedran Contra for 30 days. I'm gonna take you on a journey to the deepest pits of hell that is Contra, one of the hardest games on the NES and infamous for its 30 lives code, and show you just what it took to get my very own personal best time in only 30 days. Now the rules of the game are gonna be very simple. I have 30 days to get as low of a time as possible. 2, I will not be using the Contra Code, for obvious reasons. 3, I will be using an emulator, NEStopia to be exact. I thought about using an actual console, but I don't own a CRT TV, a proper capture device, and it's just too much work. And 4, days will be continuous. They will not be counted by each calendar day, but instead by each stream. Now for some context on what a time for Contra may look like, I will show you the world record. Note, my time will be nowhere near this, but it'll just give you an idea of how good or bad my end time will be.
Fuck yeah, dude. Yes. Finally fucking did it. Yes.
9:48 is where the world record stands at this moment. And I think it goes without saying that to get anywhere near this would be next to impossible, with just 30 days. So my ultimate goal is to get at least sub 11. And if the footage you're watching is any indication, I got a lot of practice ahead of me if I'm gonna make it. So with all that out of the way, I think it's time we get down to the grand plan. With only 30 days to get as best of a time as possible, I'm gonna have to divide the first 10 days up into just practicing the hell out of the game. And that's how I'll be dividing the first section of our journey, starting with day 1, which will be the first 3 stages. And with all the preamble out of the way, let's get started. Now you would think starting the game that the first stage would be pretty easy, and you're not entirely wrong, but it's actually one of the most annoying stages in the game. Starting off, it took me a good while to beat it, all the way into day 2 to be honest. For example, these bridges right here blow up as you try and walk over them. Now my first instinct was to try and jump at the last possible second, you know, trying to cover as much ground. And it took me a good while to actually realize that you actually need to jump quite a bit before the bridge starts blowing up in order to consistently get past it. Now the next tricky section is trying to grab this power up right here. Now it's not that tricky, however a lot of times you'll end up mis-shooting it and end up forced to wait for it. Even at the time of writing this, I still sometimes struggle not losing time trying to grab it. These next 2 things are what make stage 1 probably the most annoying stage in the entire game, by far. Here you have to obtain this R, and if you miss it, you have to reset, because it's absolutely vital for the next stage, and when it comes with very colorful deaths. And it's probably one of the hardest tricks to get down consistently, despite how easy it looks. And now last and most certainly not least, I bring you Dikembe.
Are you serious? Oh my... No, fuck!
Not today!
This boss, named after Dikembe Mutombo for reasons that you can probably figure out on your own, is by far, without a doubt, the most annoying thing in this entire game. Stage 1 has the nickname of Jungle Jail almost entirely because of this guy's stupid RNG pattern, which has no easy means of getting past. Even with years of running this game, this boss will still give you grief, which thankfully if you get past all his bullshit, he's actually quite easy to take down. And now with him out of the way, we can finally close the chapter on stage 1 and move on to stage 2, base 1. Now base 1 is quite unlike most stages in the game, as it's a straightforward obstacle shooter where you gotta shoot the targets to get past each section up until you reach the boss. And to be honest, there's really not much to say about this other than your spread rhythm dictates how fast you're gonna get through it, as well as your positioning. Spread rhythm is a whole nother beast altogether. You could probably take a whole college course on spread rhythm just to get an idea of how to actually do it, but it boils down to a feeling, and once you get that feeling down, you'll get the spread rhythm down with it. Now this might not make much sense, and that's because it doesn't. I don't know how to get good spread rhythm. The boss of base 1 is kind of similar to Dikembe. Most Contra runners will agree that he's the hardest boss in the game, and unlike the first boss, actually takes a little bit of finesse to beating him. I think what makes Contra such a frustrating game to speedrun is the hardest bosses in the game are actually at the beginning of the game, which means getting past these first 2 stages can be quite a challenge. Stage 3 is Waterfall. Waterfall is probably the most streamlined stage in the game. Each attempt at this stage will look almost entirely the same, barring a few troll spawns, but overall identical depending on how you decide you want to run it. The overall objective here is to make as few vertical jumps as possible while avoiding the enemies and bullets being shot at you. Well, obviously. But the key takeaway to that is that as few jumps as possible. You see this stage as probably the most technical know-how going on as far as different routes you can take as far as ledge skips, which require very technical button presses to achieve. But we'll get to that later. For now, we'll just ascend as quickly as we can until we get to the top. Our first obstacle for Waterfall is our good buddy Scuba Steve here. Now, just from looking at it, you would think it's not so bad. You know, you just wait for it and keep going. See, but here's the thing. When you're in the middle of a speedrun, you don't want to wait for it and end up making this little jump a little too early and end up losing it. Finding that perfect window can be a little tricky. Next up is this flame bridge right after Scuba Steve. Now there's a lot going on right here with the flames on the bridge, all these turrets shooting at you, and most importantly this bee that gives you invincibility that you need to obtain. Watch as I completely miss it and let it fly away. And a little further up from there, we got a nice turret section that took me a little bit of figuring out. You see, this section is about where your invincibility runs out, and these turrets have a good knack of hitting you right along with the trolls that are right next to them. It's a bit of a tricky section, but once you learn not to hesitate and instead just jump up to the platform, you stay alive pretty easily. Finally, we have the boss. This boss is fairly easy to kill. His projectiles sometimes can sneak up on you and kill you, but it's a pretty rare occurrence, and if you're paying attention, should be pretty easy to avoid. You have the options of killing the left, right, or both tentacles before he opens his mouth. Once he opens his mouth, you can finally unleash hell upon him. If you kill both tentacles in time, his vulnerability stays active just a little bit longer, but it's pretty challenging to do and make it count, so for now, we're just gonna kill one and hope for the best. With that, we are finally done with day 1. It's a bit to take it all in at once, but trust me, with 30 days, we have plenty of time to practice all this. Let's move on to day 2 and talk about base 2, our 4th stage. So base 2 really isn't much of a stage to dedicate an entire day to. So I probably use most of day 2 actually just touching up stages 1 through 3. Base 2 is basically just base 1 but longer. The sections are a bit trickier to nail down, and there's a few more turrets shooting at you, but it's still a fairly easy stage. I feel like now might be a good time to mention spread rhythm. Like I said during the base 1 section, I don't know the science behind it. The minute I think I figured it out, the game reminds me that I'm actually an idiot and I just need to shut up. Spread rhythm, as I understand it, is taking advantage of your sprite limit to intensify the current of bullets shooting at the enemy. If you shoot normally, you're very wide, but with good rhythm, it's focused more into one space and hits a bit faster, thus killing your targets much faster. See, I figure it's best to talk about it here because it's much more important in base 2 than it is in base 1, as base 2 is actually the longest stage of the game, clocking in at about 2 minutes. So anything to speed up the stage helps. And we come to the boss of base 2. A bit of a downgrade from base 1, yet probably the hardest boss in the game to fully master due to the only glitch in the game that allows you to one-cycle him. You take down these 3 turrets to spawn him while having to dodge and kill these cute little guys as they shoot at you. Once he spawns, you can just aim up and take him down as quick as you can. However, I will say this about the dude. He spawns these 2 orbs to shoot down at you as you're attacking him, which can be infuriating to dodge if you don't know what to do. They spawn at completely random from their start point, and some of them can be outright run resetting. The trick is to jump precisely at the right time in order to dodge and keep firing. Aside from this, pretty simple. Okay, so from here on out, I'd say we're getting into milestone territory. The previous stages, I'd say, are the skill check stages, and with Snowfield, the game weeds out the weak and asks if you truly got what it takes to beat it. Snowfield is a pain in the ass. There's no easy way of putting it. From the beginning to the end, you got obstacles and troll spawns. Actually, we've never talked about troll spawns yet, have we? Let me introduce you to the true villain of the game, the trolls. These cute little red soldiers that always spawn just to annoy the hell out of you and sometimes make you reset. They literally have no rhyme or rhythm to them. They spawn wherever the hell they want, and from here on out, they get much worse. Now, as annoying as the trolls get, let's discuss the first obstacle of Snowfield, which is almost the first screen of the zone. These grenades here with some friendly turrets to give them some flavor. It's interesting that the hardest part about the zone is the first part, but, well, this is Contra. The first window to jump over these grenades is fairly short, and avoiding the turrets with them, it's fair to say a lot of deaths will happen right here, so taking it safe is probably okay with some well-timed dodges and jumps. Okay, so I gotta go off script here for a second and admit something. This level kinda has me at a loss, because the first obstacle is the only really big obstacle. The rest of the stage is pretty much just one giant obstacle, so I'm gonna have to try something different here to explain the rest of it with a speed explanation. Coming up right here, we have 2 turrets which we're gonna shoot diagonally down right at. After those, we have another section of grenades, which require a quick pause before we can jump over it. Followed by another grenade section. Again, we wait for a spot to pass. We shoot down diagonally to avoid troll spawns right here. If we ever die anywhere on this stage, we have 3 power-ups right here, which we can get us right back to where we just were. We run into a tank. Just shoot it. Jump to avoid the turret here. Another tank. We have a turret sneaking up on us right now. Jump and avoid it. Easy death here. More grenades, more fun. Oh look! More grenades and more fun! And a turret! It's like Christmas. And we are finally here to the boss. Probably the easiest boss in the entire game. He spawns in 3 different locations, but otherwise just stands there as target practice for you to kill him in literal seconds. There is literally nothing to say about him. And good job! You beat Snowfield! Alright, I'm gonna level with you here. This stage is a nightmare. Easily the hardest stage in the game. I'm not even sure I'm qualified to even try to explain to you how this stage works, because even at the time of writing this stage still sucks. But as your respected and honorable runner, I will do my due diligence and convey to you just the suckery of Energy Zone. The trolls in this stage are absolutely out of control by this point. If there is a place where they can screw you up, trust me, they already found a way to do it and will do it. Figuring out the best way to dispatch them while still moving forward is the only way you can do this, or else you'll be thrown off your rhythm and lose to something else just as stupid. Like, just take a look at this part right here, where I got 3 trolls running after me, where I gotta take the time and turn around and shoot them, only for another to instantly spawn and shoot me down. This is the level of bullshittery we're dealing with at this stage of the game. Alright, you want obstacles? Fine, I will give you obstacles, you greedy little... Alright, you got this flame shooting down right here over this pit with 2 turrets on the other side. You have to duck just in time to shoot it down, or you die! Oh, and here's my absolute favorite one right here. You just walk right into a giant beam of death off screen with 0 warning and just, oops, you're dead. Try again. If you happen to show up when you're not getting 1 frame death by this stupid flame, you gotta climb these other platforms with flames threatening to end your miserable existence, and time it so it doesn't kill you as you're trying to jump. And then you got the next flame section right after! Let me tell you something, this section right here, this piece of shit section right here, easily takes the cake. It takes the whole fucking cake, and it rubs it right into the wound that this stage carved right into your very soul. You have to somehow climb up the 2 death platforms, dodge the troll on the other side, jump over the flame while shooting down at the bee, and then jump down and grab it, all the while not dying. By this point, I had to literally go on Discord and beg someone to show me how the hell this is possible, because this section is just so stupid. It's not just stupid, it's idiotic. I'm not even sure how the hell this is done in a casual setting. Oh, and in case you didn't think this section was dumb enough, that box with the bee in it, it's only shootable for a small period, and if you shoot down at it and it's closed, too bad, try again. Alright. I need to take a breath and calm down. You just have no idea how much this part pisses me off. let's just move on to the next obstacle. So amazingly, after you figured out this part after missing your son's graduation and Mars has been colonized, surprisingly, now that you got the B, it's actually just a straight shot to the boss. Now, as far as this part goes right here, I can't exactly comment on the best means of getting through it, as I've never actually done this without the B. But this flame towards the end here, your B runs out right here, so just make sure you dodge it, or you could die to it. And as we finally get to the end of the stage, we run into probably the only actual boss in the entire game, which is dubbed Jumping Joey due to the fact, well, he annoyingly jumps, which really slows down your run. He likes to throw projectiles at you, run at you, or jump, and that's about all he does, but he does it all very unpredictably. So you kinda just gotta read his movements the best you can while trying to take him down as fast as you can. His color changes as you damage him, so you got a pretty good idea of how close you are to killing him as you're shooting him. He's a fairly tough boss, but nothing you can't handle. And that finishes the stage. Finally. Okay, thank Christ we are done with that stupid stage. I mean, we're not done. In the reality of our journey, we still have to actually consistently run it, but you know what I mean. Anyways, we are nearing the end of our journey with HANGAR, our penultimate stage, if you will. This stage is a breath of fresh air. It's by no means easy, but it's definitely a lot nicer than the last two stages, and I kind of enjoy it. So our first section we got is a mix of these forks that come down. You're going to want to pass through them once the first one comes back up, run forward, jump up, and then shoot down at the F that's coming down at you. Remember, the F is the fire shot, the worst ammo in the game, so you're definitely not going to want that. Jump over to the next set of forks, make another jump towards a turret, and dispatch it. Now I'm going to come out and say that the way you're actually supposed to do this, I could never consistently pull it off, so I kind of invented my own easier but slower way of making this section doable, which I still do to this day, which involves jumping at the second fork here, instantly ducking and shooting. It's a 100% kill, but it's also slow. Right here we come to another fork section. This one's a bit harder than the last one, as the timing of the forks are much tighter. If you wait too long, they'll crush you, so your window is very small to go through. Along the track at the bottom are minecarts, which if you touch, for some stupid reason, they'll kill you. Now normally I'd go on a long rant about how stupid it is that a minecart which you can stand on just fine, just touching it instantly sends you to an early grave, but we're gonna do that. Once you reach this second minecart, you need to nearly frame perfectly jump onto it in order to ride it over to the B of this stage. If you miss this minecart, another one should be ahead of you, but it's horrendously slower to grab that one. Alright my friends, we are finally here, the Piece de Resistance, the final challenge of the game, and of course it comes with a bang. We find ourselves at a fork section. It's not a hard fork section, just take your time and get through it. The difficulty lies in what comes after it, and a wall. You see, this section is called Heartbreak Alley, and it's called that for a reason, because there's 4 very well-placed turrets right here, which, yeah, it's not too bad to get past if you take your time. But if you're not trying to take your time, it's incredibly hard to nail down. Turrets have this fascinating thing with them, where their shots are so unforgiving and hard to dodge, and when you put 4 of them in a row, with probably troll spawns right next to them, this section is by far one of the worst run killers in the game. However, it should be noted that there really isn't even a boss on this level other than a glowing wall for you to shoot at with almost no defenses, so I guess you could argue that the 4 turrets was the boss? I don't know. We finished HANGAR, and we got to the final stage by shooting a defenseless wall. I hope you feel proud of yourself. So you're gonna notice a lack of card for Stage 8, and that's because Stage 8 is pretty much a freebie stage. Notice how I just said a moment ago that the final section of Stage 7 was the Piece de Resistance, while having a whole nother stage after it? Stage 8 is basically just run forward, shoot the giant head, don't fall asleep, and beat the final boss, which might take a little practice, but even without practice can still be killed fairly easy. You can basically just jump, aim diagonally upright on both bosses until they go boom boom. It's actually kind of nice, after everything we just went through, that the end is kind of just more of a thematic ending, really. Now watch as I get into this final chamber. This alien from the ceiling tries to fall onto you, dodge it, and also make sure that you kill the enemy spawner that's on the ground, but otherwise, go ahead and go crazy and just kill it, and watch it blow! Congrats, and you beat the game! However, our journey isn't over yet. Sure, we finished the stages, but we still got a few tricks we need to learn before we can start an actual run. That's right. Remember back in day one when I talked about skipping ledges in Waterfall? We're finally coming back to that, as knowing this is absolutely integral to doing this in a run, that dedicating an entire day to making sure we get this down needs to happen. So like I said, there are many different types of skips in this stage. The 2 skip, 3 skip, 4 skip, etc. But each one, of course, is harder to pull off. And because we need to crawl before we walk, we're just going to settle for the 2 skip for now. Now, we're only just getting started here, but you'll soon come to find out that this first part here can be learned pretty easy and commit to muscle memory. I won't exactly go into vast details about what the specific jumps are. Instead, I'll just link the video in the description. However, just note that the button presses are very specific, and if you mistake even one of them, your jumps will not land and you'll have to start over. Now, this isn't a bad thing per se, it just means that you're going to lose a couple seconds just doing the stage normally, but making sure you're consistent at this stage and having it committed to muscle memory is just absolutely an amazing tool to have in an already annoying stage. One takeaway we're going to learn watching this is that this flame bridge here, there's a method of doing a second skip by jumping over the flame, which is actually a fairly advanced strategy that I keep trying to pull off. But I eventually learned that it's just too difficult to set up, and reluctantly just go with the much safer but slower strategy of just shooting the bee from the left and doing the jump after. Probably loses a second or two, but if I can't consistently pull this off, it's just not worth doing, else it means a reset, and who knows when I'll be able to try it again. Best to just be safe now and go big later. Unfortunately, I don't exactly start doing this strategy until days later, and instead go ahead thinking that I'm just going to take the risk with this flame jump, so we won't be seeing it until later. As long as we got the first part up to the flame bridge committed to muscle memory, that's all that matters for now. We're going to be skipping day 9, as day 9 is literally just practicing everything we just learned. So technically you've already been watching day 9. Day 10, we actually get started with the actual run. Now, as you probably noticed, this video is reaching about the half-hour mark, so it should come to no surprise that the actual speedrun part of the journey will be done in a part 2. But for now, let's just see how bad we do on our first day. Spoiler alert, it's not good. I actually get off to a pretty damn good start if I do say so myself. You see, every one of these days where I've been learning these new stages, I've also still been practicing the first stage as well in the background because I know what a pile of shit it can be, and thank God too. As I said earlier, you could be stuck in the first stage for quite a while, just trying to get past all its dumb traps it little has. I seem to have a knack for where at the beginning of the run, I'll start off pretty slick and then slowly teeter down until I'm just too frustrated to keep going. You can see right here I still slow down a bit trying to hit that turret where the R spawns. That area has always been a pain in the ass for me, but thankfully the first stage ends fairly easy with a smooth Dikembe kill. We beat stage 1 at 57 seconds. 56 seconds is the target, so it's not too bad. I also waste time by not positioning build to the right. I'd say base 1 is probably one of the harder stages to get that good spread rhythm down, especially this early in the game, so a lot of this is pretty sloppy. Sometimes it just becomes so nail-biting trying to mash that button in that perfect rhythm, just hoping your rhythm changes in your favor, but it never does. One trick I learned early on doing these runs is when you duck down right here and shoot the rolling pins, you instantly get near perfect rhythm, so it's always fun to get that, and it helps a lot for the next room, which can be tough if one of those trolls happen to snipe you for taking too long. Now, as I said earlier, this boss is the hardest boss in the game, so don't give me too much shit for looking like an idiot trying to kill him. Remember, this is only the 10th day, go easy on me. He's a lot harder than he looks. Oh my god, just kill him! About goddamn time, obviously not world record pace, by any means. Early on in these runs, I always had trouble forgetting to jump right for the ledge skip, which completely ruins things, so I'm forced to just play the stage normally. But for a first run, it's no big deal. For some reason, whenever I'm climbing up these platforms, even with the invincibility, I always still have this caution in my jumps, which makes me lose a lot of time ascending these platforms. And because of this, once I get up to the turret section, I end up running out too early, and, well, you can see what happens. I mean, let me just say that getting to Waterfall in the first place is actually pretty awesome. To me, this game is all about milestones. You start consistently finishing stage 1 and 2, and then the first 3 stages, then suddenly you're getting to Waterfall 5 times in a row, no problem. Then you start seeing base 2 more. It's all about repetition and learning, so to be able to get this far in the first day, and the first try for that matter, I'd say my practice paid off. I am so happy to share with you my first 10 days of Contra, and I appreciate so much that you stuck with me this whole video. Hopefully I'll catch you in the next video too. This is my first project doing something like this, so it's all a learning experience, on top of learning the game, so please forgive me for my speech impediment where it might bleed through. Send me a like and subscribe if you enjoyed watching this. I'm hoping to make this a series, and your support would definitely make this a reality. Also, feel free to comment on any suggestions or things you'd like to see in the next video, future projects. Knowing what you guys want can only improve the next video. And of course, last but not least, I absolutely cannot go without thanking everybody who helped make this happen, and I am so sorry if I miss any of you. So many people were so helpful to me that I can never show enough appreciation. This is truly one of the best communities out there. Thank you.